For this video, we're going to look at how to insert a record into the database. So we're going to actually create a new form to allow us to get the text from a user, to input that data and do something with it. So first off, I'm going to just add a new form to my application. And I'm going to call it, what should we call it? Add venue, because we're going to add a new venue to the database. So FRM or form add venue. And I'll just change the caption of that to be slightly more readable, so that caption's more readable. And I'm going to add a couple of text boxes to allow the user to input data and a button to submit that data. So first off, I'll have just a normal text box. Pop over here. And this is going to be my venue name text box. So okay. So add my label. Give the label a sensible name. And change the text of that to be venue name. Okay. And then I'm going to add another text box for the location. And that label alongside that one. A label for location. And one last text box for the telephone number. Just pop a semicolon on the location text as well, just to make them consistent. And that doesn't look like it's lined up that there. There it is. And we'll add a button to allow us to submit this data. And the button's going to be called Submit. And in order to be able to view this actual form, we're probably going to need some code in for main to allow it to show this form. So if we add another button down here, and we'll call that button Add Venue. Change the text, and when we click on that button, we want it to basically just show the form Add Venue, just like that, nothing else. Keep it simple. Okay, so what I want to happen now is when I click on this Submit button here, I want to do something with the data from here. So we'll go and view the code, and we find the button submit object and get the click event. So now we can put the code in here to add a venue to the database. So insert is really insert a new venue record into the database. Right, before we can do anything, first rule of thumb is that we can't use any of the OLEDB library because we haven't imported it. So we have to go right back to basics, right up to the top, and import the system.data.oledb library. And also, we don't have a database connection in this class neither. So I'm just going to go to my form main code, nick my database connection from the top of the page, and paste it into my add venue class. Notice how I put that inside the class but outside of the submit button. So it's quite important where you put it, otherwise it won't be seen anywhere else if you just put it in here. Okay, so I've got my database connection. I'm going to build up my string. Now, I'm going to do it slightly different this way around. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to test to see if all of these values, all of these text boxes have a value. And if they do, then I'm going to declare my SQL and build my command up and write everything to the database. Okay, so I'll just do a little if statement. So I'm just checking to see if the venue text box has any text. Oops. And the location text box has any text. It's not an and, is it? It's an or. I'll just explain that to you. If I write if text box venue name dot text is not equal to nothing. Oh no, that's right, yeah, all three things have to have something in them. And sometimes I get myself in a knot trying to think about what I'm trying to explain to you. So we'll just check what I wrote there. So if the venue text box is not empty, and the location text box is not empty, and the telephone text box is not empty, so they've all got some values, then do whatever we're going to do in here. Else, do something else. And the do something else will be just to tell them that they need to complete all the fields before they can submit anything to the database. Okay. I'm going to have a caption called failed, or no, it hasn't failed yet, it just doesn't have any not all the required data. So I'm going to put missing information, just an OK button, and a little information icon. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to say is that if it does have all the fields, then we're going to build up our SQL and run the SQL command. So it's an insert statement that we're doing. So insert into the venue table, and then you've got to specify what columns you're inserting. So I'm inserting a venue name, the location, and a telephone number. And these variables here, or these column names, map on to the column names here. And I've got to give it some values, so I'm going to say insert the following values. And the values that I'm going to insert come from the text boxes. So basically I open up the sort of area where I'm going to have my string for the values here, and then I start adding that text to it. So and text box venue name text. And it's a little bit weird, so I'm going to type out this SQL as plain text so you can see what I'm trying to do. So if we just open up Notepad a minute, what I actually want to do is pass in the value. So if I was just doing this as an SQL string in Access, I would do something like venue name O2 location Newcastle. Oops, got a single quote there. And telephone number 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and that would be my string. But what happens here is that you've actually got to specify all these little single quotations and commas in between the values that you're actually inputting as well. So you've got to build that string up. So the way that we do that is we're passing the value, then we have to create a little string for a single quote and a comma, and then add the next value. And build up the string. Oops, I forgot the single quote on that side. So a single quote on either side, and the comma, and the single quote, and the value from the text box. And because this is at the end, we just want the single quote. I think that's it. Yeah. Okay, so that's our very long insert into string there. So the next thing I'm going to do is create my command. Pass in the SQL string. Pass in the database connection. Open the database connection. Close the database connection. And execute the command. And because I'm inserting something into the database, I don't need to get a value out of the database. So remember, it's a non-query command. So execute non-query is the type of query we're running in this instance. Okay, we'll just add a little message box to say that the record was successfully added to the database. Give it a nice little caption, see what sort of buttons we're going to have, and what icon we're going to have. We'll just save that and run it. So we go to add venue, which should show a new form, and then we type in the venue name. I know there's no Sheffield venues in the database. I don't know the area code for Sheffield, so we'll just make that up and click submit. And with any luck, it should submit that to the database. Okay, it's saying that there's a problem with my insert statement. So there's something wrong with the syntax up here. So what I'm going to do is just check. So what I did there was I hovered over this SQL variable, and note how it gives me, can I show you, the SQL here. And I'll just give you a second to look at that, because there's something missing off it. Can you see what's missing off it? So you've got insert into venue, then open brackets, venue name, location and telephone number, fine. Pass in the values, open bracket, O2, Sheffield, and then the telephone number, and then I'm missing the closing bracket that's required for the values section on there. So I'm going to stop this, and I'm just going to show you that try-catch working in here. Hopefully this will be a good example for you to see the error handling. So I just typed in try. If you press return, it puts the catch in the end try in for you. I'm going to move all this code into here, and then I'm going to just have a little message box that shows this exception here. So x.message. Okay, and then I'll run that again, and hopefully it'll fail so you can see the try catch working this time. So O2 Sheffield, I don't know what the number is. Click submit. Syntax error, that's the message that's come out of that catch statement there. So rather than actually just crash and fail, we'll get a nice little message box that handles that, and it doesn't crash the whole thing. We can go and do something else to it now. Okay, so what I wanted to do was add that extra, oops, not that, that's not what I wanted to do. Just dock it down here. What I wanted to do was add that extra bracket on the end of the values SQL here. So if I press play now, go to add venue, type in O2 Sheffield 01661, submit. The record was successfully added to the database. And just to prove that that was added to the database, we'll go and just reload that venue table. And we can see we've now got a new record for the O2 in Sheffield. So that's how you insert a record into a database. Oops.